And welcome back. My name is Shiko Kaitani. We are glad you are watching this morning. Remember our social media platforms at K24 TV, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. If you prefer to SMS, 21222 is that SMS number. And of course, our phone lines are open. You will see those numbers at the bottom of your screen. We are talking about the inclusion of people living with disabilities in the workplace. And before I get back to my panel this morning, I want us to actually check out this video that we have up next, where we managed to catch up with one David Itale, a Kenyan ex-footballer and veteran soldier who served in the British Army, who is now an amputee. And here is what he has to say about living in the UK as a person with a disability.
Good morning, Shiko. Thank you very much for inviting me on this panel today. To the viewers back home, my name is David Itale. I lost my leg in Afghanistan after a bomb blast accident. I've lived in the UK for over 10 years. What I love most about the UK on how they look or treat people with disabilities is totally different from how people in Kenya are treated. We have comprehensive civil rights, law that prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability in employment, state and local programs, public accommodation, commercial facilities and transportation. So you find everything that has been put in place is able to aid people with disabilities to live a comfortable life. We have universal credit. Universal credit is income given to people with disabilities who are unable to work. We've got personal income independent payment. Personal independent payment is also an income that is given to people who can work, but at the same time, they can only work for a certain amount of time. We've also got help to buy or lease a car from Motability Scheme. Motability Scheme is a scheme where if you have a disability, you can actually go to any car dealer and you get a vehicle of your choice, which is under Motability Scheme, and you lease the vehicle for 3 years. The other benefits we've got is, for example, right here, I've got 2 prosthetic legs. I've got this is my shower leg, and I've got this as my spare leg. This is the most advanced leg that I have, which is the Gilliam leg, and this leg I can do so many activities with it. I've got an app on my phone where that shows if I want to do things in the gym, let's say like cycling, lifting weights, I've got the app on my phone to aid me or to change the mode on the leg. For example, if I want to do cycling, I can just click on the cycling mode and you'll just hear a beep, and that has changed to cycling mode. If I want to go back to walking normal, I can just click to basic mode and you will just hear a beep and it changes back to basic mode. In my own experience when I was in Kenya in 2017, so many people approached me with how they're really struggling. This is because they find they don't receive any help whatsoever. And this starts from things like wheelchairs, prosthetic legs, Zimmer frames, to aid people to walk, and crutches. Some people are able to afford them and some people are not. That's totally different from here in the UK. Here in the UK, everyone is treated the same. The government looks into everything, and it's something that I would like to see the Kenyan government trying to implement, just to try and help people with disabilities. Because disability is not a disease. It's not something that you can catch. As a society, what we can try and do is just try and treat people with disabilities the same as anyone else. These are people who also have talents. These are people who also contribute to the society, the community. Lastly but not least, I would like to give a shout out to DJ Euphoric, a very good friend of mine. Keep on doing whatever you're doing. Something very positive. You're inspiring so many people with disabilities in Kenya. I would also like to give a shout out to the Member of Parliament on the panel, Mr. Wanyonyi. And Mr. Wanyonyi, you've heard what I have to say. You've seen, we've shared views on how the UK have so many benefits on how they help people with disabilities. That is something that you can take to the Parliament, and if you have a discussion with it, I'm sure it can help so many people. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Wow. Well, there you have David Itale, ex-footballer, veteran soldier, served in the British Army, now an amputee and even a motivational speaker. What do you have to say about that? And even his personal message to you, Heshimiwa. Did you see, when we talk about benchmarking, you wonder, why are we not going to benchmark and see what's happening in the UK? He's talked about allowances.
Yes.
He's talked about, tax-free, whether it's items that will, of course, assist. Basically, the environment is extremely conducive for persons with disabilities. And when he talks about disabilities, he's talking about from, all aspects.
Yes. And that's where we need to go, because here we are still fighting about inclusion. We are still fighting about acceptability.
Yeah.
We're still fighting about the basics. And there they are already doing big things, you know. There's nobody sees you different from any other person, because the government provides, and they make it very, very, very easy. You know, when you go to UK, it's easy to use public transport than use private means.
Right.
When you go to the streets, you can wheel yourself to any place, because the streets are made even accessible.
Right.
They remove all barriers, anything. And in fact, people are so sensitive that if there's anything that limits you, you can sue them. You can bring a cause against, and then the government provides a lot of support for them.
Euphoric, what have you received in terms of benefits from, whether we talk about this fund that is for people living with disabilities in this country? Have you been a direct beneficiary, or it just doesn't work?
Personally, it has worked. Let's talk about maybe buying a car. It's a duty free. Yeah, that's a benefit, because actually when Mheshimiwa amesema in the US, you can wheel yourself. Yeah, sometimes it was like for me when I was doing my DJ course. I had to walk. I had to wheel myself. Right. Then now the place where you can wheel yourself, akuna. Yes. Then you have to pitia hapo side ya barabara. Then we have when tulisema like we are fighting for awareness, acceptance, hizo vitu naona. Like matatu guy telling you, manze pita na huko kula anakuambia upite unacheki. Yeah. Hakuna barabara. So at least now the government is working on that. Yeah. For those who are employed, kuna the exemptions. Yeah. So I think it's one or two things at least the government should implement. Okay. Ukiwa na kina mheshimiwa hapa in parliament, unajua they'll push. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Iram, I'm just wondering, is it mandatory to include people living with disabilities as part of your workforce in the corporate sector? Because this is some of the things we need to understand, because you could be running an organization, you have no one with any particular disability working for you, and perhaps you are, in quotes, breaking the law because you're not, having an environment that's inclusive.
Well, it is mandatory.
Yes.
To have. Yeah. As I said, the government has placed a cap of 5%. Yeah. To my knowledge, I think it's only Safaricom that's thriving with about 2.1%, at around that much. People don't realize that persons with disability are the largest population, highest underrepresented minority in the world, right? And 70% of persons with disability acquired their disabilities after birth. What does that mean? It means out of all of us, out of 10 people who are now normal, 7 of us are prone to have a disability at some point in our lives. And so I keep asking the corporates, why are you not preparing these spaces for yourselves? Yes. Don't even think about the current ones. Think about yourself and the future. You've got to create that platform for yourselves now. Yes. Right? If you start thinking like that, then you'll run to the, to the end of the for the race, because you're already preparing it for yourself. You're already onboarding those individuals to see what challenges you will be facing once you get there. Yeah, so it is mandatory.
It is mandatory.
Yes, but many are not aware.
Okay, I can throw this question to both you, Mheshimiwa, and of course DJ Euphoric, concerning what we currently see today on the streets, the influx of people with disabilities on our streets. Some even say it's a cartel because it's business. Having someone on the street ni biashara, Euphoric.
Yeah.
And that's his job, to beg. Why are some of them also even resisting getting into formal employment or receiving benefits or even taking a course, perhaps? Let me start off with you, Honorable Wanyonyi.
You know, it tells a lot about our society.
Yeah.
The way they have placed people with disability, you know, they make you believe that you actually belong there, belong to the street, belong to that corner of the street to go and seek alms from people.
Yeah.
And the moment we've been trying to come out with a really education to educate people that there's human dignity that we need to give to people so that person believes in himself that he can deliver, he can do something about his life. There's one group of disability in Nanyuki.
Yeah.
And we've been working with them, and they have this policy that when there's a person with disability doing anything on the street, if they find you begging on the street, they remove you quickly.
Immediately.
And go and ask you, what is it you want? If it is money to start a business, they will lend you money. If anything, so that they make sure they don't allow anybody to go and sit on the street.
Right.
And we have even done some assessment. Some of these people who sit on the street are brought by people, families, and others.
Who force them to be there.
Some of them, and majority of them, are not Kenyans. We have seen some of these guys come from Tanzania.
Really?
Yes. They
Most
just
are foreigners, actually.
Most of them are foreigners.
I'm sure one day one of the media houses did a follow-up on that.
Yes.
And they found that there's a house somewhere in Eastlands where these people are actually kept there.
Right.
In the evening, depending how much money you have brought, is how much food you'll be given.
What?
Or something like that. And if you don't, then you don't even eat.
Let me tell you, and I have noticed, because even along Kijabe Street going to Globe, and it just takes you being observant. How can someone be right on time, like they're clocking into work at exactly 4:30 in the morning, is actually seated at the same spot every day? Who is bringing them?
It's someone's project.
It's someone's project.
It's someone's project. Because like for me, when I see those guys on our wheelchairs or hapo wanaomba, you know, me sometimes I stop and I ask that person, and I open my door, and I tell them, you know, I'm like you, and I'm not like depending maybe to be employed or something. I'm doing my own thing. So what are you doing here? What are you doing here?
And what do they tell you?
So ati unajua kutafuta watu wa kupata usaidizi. So you ask the guy like, umejaribu kutafuta that kind of help. So for me, you're like someone passing and anakuambia ni aje saidia, me I don't. And I'm sorry to say I don't. Yeah. I better get someone who's passing na anauza, yes, something selling. Hata kama I don't use that thing, let me buy that thing
to support them.
To support him, but not give the money.
We do have another caller on the line. Good morning.
Morning, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah, mimi naitwa Kaburu from Gong.
Yes, Kaburu, karibu sana.
Yes. Ni hii mambo ya disability. I think mheshimiwa lazima wajue vile watafanya na hawa watizedi wako all over in our country. Wanabebwa, wanaomba mpaka kwa bar.
Oh wow.
On Sundays they work 24 hours. Kuomba tu, hakuna wakati wanapumzika. And they are Tanzanians. They are all over the country. Ukienda pahali kama Gong, kwa sisi za Gong, huwezi ukaenda 5 meters bila kupatana na mmoja. So ningetaka hata nani huyu anaitwa nani huyu
Honorable Wanyonyi,
washikane mpaka huyo DJ. Wajaribu wafurushe watu wale wote si wa Kenya.
Yes.
Waondoe hapa kabisa.
Aya.
Hiyo ningeomba hivyo because wamekuwa stress kwa wananchi.
Okay. Asante sana Kaburu. Well, there you go. Someone has actually agreed with you that a lot of these people are not Kenyan nationals.
Yeah.
They are, a lot of them are Tanzanians.
They're not. This was on Nairobi streets.
Yes.
Most of them are not Kenyans. By the way, they're not.
He says even in Ngong.
We are saying that our government, I think we should just come up with a strict law that if you are found on the street, you are taken away. And let us understand what is it that is limiting you or is making you to come and sit.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Flipping things onto the other side, let's not even focus necessarily on the people on the street, but perhaps there are those who have grown up in what you would regard a decent home, but are just someone who's living with a disability. In your opinion, Iram, what do people with disabilities don't understand in terms of trying to search for employment? Because perhaps from a HR perspective, this is something, you know, they also need to know. If you're coming to look for work, what do I need to know?
Wow. Okay. It's two-way.
Yeah.
Is what they need to know and what the corporates need to know, right? And I keep on saying that we have a lot of qualified individuals who are persons living with disabilities, who probably are yet to believe. I've gone to university. I've done my bachelor's. I've done my master's. But I'm yet to believe that I can be employed. Right?
All right. Sorry, just hold on to that thought as we attend to Musa right about now. Musa is in Mombasa. Good morning.
Morning. Habari zenu?
Mzuri sana. Yes, hello? Musa. Yes, Musa.
Bwana Musa hawa kutoka Mombasa Likoni. Bwana mimi ni mlemavu. Naulizia kuhusu hii habari ya hii kadi ya walemavu, national card ya walemavu. Wajua hatujaelewa umuhimu wake zaidi. Maana yake tuliambiwa saa nyingine yasaidia kwenye masuala ya hospitali, kwenye masuala ya kwenda kwenye mahali kama kujitambulisha kama mlemavu ikupe msaada yasaidia, lakini msaada wake unakuwa kidogo unachenga wa msaada wake. Nataka pia tufafanulie mheshimiwa Nyonyi hapo, atuambie ni vipi yasaidia hii kadi ya National Council, na pia ataka tueleze zaidi kuhusiana na masuala ya walemavu na mambo ya ajira, kwa sababu tumesikia hapo bwana anasema watu wanaomba. Hata Mombasa tunao
wengi sana. All right, Ruth.
Yes.
Ruth from Nairobi. Yes, good morning, Ruth.
Yes.
Yes, question or comment, please?
I'd like to comment. Yeah.
Yes, go ahead. Yes, Ruth, go ahead.
Morning, Chic.
Yes, please turn down the monitor so that you can actually hear me. All right, go ahead.
Hi, morning, Chico.
Good morning. Go ahead.
Love your show.
Thank you.
Now, about the discussion that's going on, my question is, why do we keep having the same discussions? And what is the government going to do about the policies to make sure that the issues of disabilities are addressed, not just talked about, but literally implemented?
Right.
Because we appreciate everyone and all the input they have to give in the country.
Yes.
They are knowledgeable, they are lovely. So why can we not have something or a policy of some sort that is all inclusive, such that even when hiring is being done, at least a percentage has to include the people with disabilities? Yeah, those are my thoughts.
Thank you so much for that, Ruth. Mheshimiwa, please take it away before we actually get back to Iram, who was telling us about, you know, how to apply for work. But the bigger question, and if I can actually merge what Musa and Ruth was saying, is what is the government just going to do? Because we keep talking and having forums like this, but what next? And, you know, do these people even have at least their own cards to, you know, be able to help themselves, you know?
You know, we need, I would like to take it with the National Council now.
Yeah.
Because it's a government agency that's supposed to implement issues on matters of disability.
Right.
National Council should come out, should go out to the villages, should go out to the counties. Even in Nairobi, people with disability don't even know where National Council is
Wow,
located.
can you imagine? Yes.
So we need National Council, and I was telling the CEO, that he should make a deliberate effort to put money aside just to do awareness, create massive awareness, go on TV, go on radio, go everywhere, and tell Kenyans what the council is supposed to do for them, or what is the role of the council in their lives.
Right.
And once we do that, this is the national council that will bring these issues to the government.
Right.
Every day tell the government we need people with disability to be employed.
Yes.
We need children with disability to go to school.
Right.
We need these devices that the people use to be given to them free of charge. We don't want even this issue of tax, you know, waiving tax. We just want them to be given to us. Government has procured, and you are told, go and pick a wheelchair from wherever, go and pick a white cane, go and do ABCD, because that's what is supposed to be done.
Absolutely. Okay. All right, back to you, Iram. Very quickly, yes, you were actually giving us some advice on job applications. So
as I was saying, as we currently have NGOs, Motivation Africa, and Cheshire, who've stepped in and said, you know, we've got these qualified individuals. Can we train them on employability skills? How can they do their CVs? How can they conduct their interviews? Just so that they're prepared, and also psychologically prepare them that they are capable of doing office jobs. Because there is that whole thinking around it that, yes, I have the degree, but nobody's going to employ me. In actual sense, people will employ you if you do present yourself in the right way. One. Two is, are organizations willing to hire them? And I'll tell you, many times a person with disability will remove their disability, will not state a disability. If they're called in for an interview, we will not give in an indication that they're a person with disability, and therefore the organization is not ready to accept somebody, not ready to accept, but there will be no provision for the wheelchair, for example. There will be no provision for an interpreter if the person is has hearing impairment. So be open about it. Once you're open about it, then the other party will also be willing to accept you. Right? I've been on that side on the table where you've gone in, called somebody for an interview, but they're on a wheelchair and did not declare it, and therefore you did not make any provisions for that wheelchair. You did not make provisions.
So from the onset,
there's a problem on both sides.
I'm just wondering though, what about, you know, when we talk about how to empower the youth and we talk about technical skills, Heshmiwa DJ Euphoric, what do you think about this in regards to technical skills for people living with disabilities? Because what are you seeing today, that because a child is born with XYZ problem, their parents will neglect taking them to school in most cases, and so what happens? They don't have any skills as well to show. But like you said, people are talented. Euphoric, what do you have to say about that?
Okay, for me, I think it's all about, I always say there's nothing for us without us. You have to go for it. So, and I think kuna place fulani we people with the disability, we are not we don't go through maybe the constitution so that we can at least know the rights and what's there for us. So it's all about coming up and show up and ask, get to know more, get information. If you feel like you want to do, this is what maybe whatever you want to do, maybe mechanical, take any technical stuff, just it's good to talk or ask, get information.
All right. Honorable Wanyonyi, as we say kwaheri, please emphasize on the inclusion, not just in the workplace, but even in our schools. Do you feel that because you're a wheelchair user or someone with autism or someone who's visually impaired should be in a totally different setup from what is regarded as normal, hence why we are not used to seeing persons living with disabilities?
We need to look at this thing in wholesome, so that we encourage. I'm just trying to use the word encourage, because there are communities, there are cultures in this country that actually victimize people with disability. That when you have a disability, you are hidden away. We are encouraging parents, please bring these children out, let them go to school. When they acquire education, they will be helped. They will even help themselves. And we're also encouraging the government to make this effort, make it known to people that if you are an employer and you create a disability-friendly workplace, you should be compensated. And we are also saying that the Persons with Disabilities Act, we are bringing it back to Parliament, and we want now to really make it aligned to the Constitution and amend it properly so that most of these things we are talking about, they'll be made mandatory. That if you go to a building and it has not those facilities that are traced in the Act, the owner of that building should be made to answerable. Okay. And all that, and so that even planning, designing, and everything should be done from the source, not adjusting.
All right. Well, we actually do want to thank you very much, Honorable Timothy Wanyonyi in the building. All the best, even as you continue to champion for people's rights with disability. Also, a big thank you to DJ Euphoric for joining us, and Miss Iram Bahawal, who's actually from the Imperial Impressions, a partner also with the National Council of Persons Living with Disabilities. If you do want her contacts, of course, we'll put you in touch. Gentlemen, how was the conversation?
I mean, just very eye-opening. Some disturbing truths are already brought to the fore, because we've had very many stories of them coming to ask for money in traffic. They talk about them coming from across the border, and it is indeed an issue that needs to be put into play, because you hear of the conditions they're living in, where they're living. Really, something needs to be done. And of course, for all those people who own buildings and aren't making them, friendly and accommodative, they also need to be put to task.
Absolutely. Just so you know, by the way, there is respectable language in regards to people living with disabilities. Right. And some interesting things, by the way, Jeff, and of course, Bovi, there are some words that I'm actually going to be telling you about, but let's take a look at some of our feedback.
So, Njuguna, hashtag K24 this morning, what you're saying is very true, Shiko. Things on the ground are very bad. Juicy man was seeking crutches here on Twitter, despite a solid program being there. The government needs to step up. Kenyans are truly suffering. Then we have Eric Maina. Is it mandatory for hotels to have room assigned specifically for people with disabilities? I think they should. Then we have probably one more from Mike. I totally agree with Muheshimiwa that people with disabilities should know their rights. All right? Everyone should know their rights regardless of their situation or ability or disability. Okay, of course, such a high note to wind up the show right there. Thank you so much for making time to be on the show. Asanteni sana. We'll be back tomorrow bright and early right here, of course, K24 This Morning. But the conversation does continue online at K24 TV. We're done for the day. Immediately after us, the Daily Brief comes in, looking at the big stories as they break and when they happen.